since we started branching out into science and maths and English, it's always been so critical to engage with teachers. New Zealand's only about 6.5% of the customer base we work with, and so every curriculum area in Australia and internationally, it's important to engage expert teachers that are familiar with their local curriculum areas, and it's great to have James here to ensure that on an ongoing basis and into future years that all of the New Zealand NCA content and for junior students is aligned exactly to the New Zealand curriculum, and that there's a lot of practice, original content there that will be really valuable for all of your students. If you go into mathematics, thank you, Callum. This is the experience a student has when they log in. They'll obviously choose the subject area. Subscriptions to Education Perfect. Standard subscriptions, if you're just registering a couple of students, are $40 per student per year to get access to all the mathematics content. For schools that are already registered for languages, which I think a lot of you do, or for schools looking to register a large number of year levels, there are bulk discounts that are available, and you can talk to our team afterwards. Okay? At the moment we have extensive content from year 9 to 13. And Callum will run through which of those external standards are fully covered and which of those standards we have more limited cover for at the moment. But by the end of the year, the goal is to have essentially a complete course there, and that's what James is going to be working on for all of the external standards, and then in future year levels to have a look at the internal standards. But at the moment, for the senior levels, it's focused on the externals.
And junior content.
And the full year 9 and 10 junior content.
Across year 9 and 10 as well.
Fantastic. So if we go into NCR level 1, click Start. On the left here we have algebraic methods, tables, and geometric reasoning. We'll showcase the content for algebra, and just remember that that's just an example of how all of the content looks in all of the other topic areas. Okay, so for algebra, and this is what you'll be able to use for free with any of those year 11 students for the 6 weeks leading up to the EMCAT, regardless of whether or not you subscribe to the system. We start off with comprehensive course coverage, and this is essentially the full online textbook / workbook where students can get as much practice as they could possibly need. We then, I'll just close that folder there, Callum. Thanks. We then have, as James said, a huge range of exam questions grouped by topic, and then full practice exams for students to do, and if 4 full practice original assessments wasn't enough for your students, the icing on the cake, if you go into that final folder there, Callum, is what we call the exam generator. And so that takes all of those practice assessments, brings in an appropriate number of questions from each of the topic areas, randomizes the numbers, gives the students an hour to go through and do essentially a full practice assessment as many times as they want. The students then get instant feedback on how they've gone at the end of the test. They can review that. They're informed about the specific skills they need to go and improve on. They can come back to the revision material, go through that, and then do another practice assessment. And what I'm really hoping to see, and I'm sure I know that a lot of the schools that we've spoken with in Dunedin and in Christchurch and in Wellington already, if they're planning on using this extensively in those 6 weeks leading up to the EMCAT, and I'm really hoping to see students do really well. Really, really well, because the instant feedback and letting them know about which area they need to practice, all right, and then giving them an endless array of practice questions until the system identifies you're now looking pretty good, and then the ability to do a full practice test and another full practice test, and then an exam generator, and then you can go back to the learning material. If they go through that learning loop, they should do really well in the EMCAT. They should do really, really well. And as a teacher, what's amazing, and we'll touch on this in a minute, is the live data that you have access to. And that from a teacher's perspective, that is the real selling point of this. All right, is instead of getting to the end of a topic, test, printing things off, giving it to the students do it on paper, you bring it back, spend however many evenings you do at the moment marking it, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, the students then get it back, and then they've kind of forgotten what they were doing, and it's kind of too late for them to do a lot more. That's the current process for a lot of schools. You have live with data updated every 5 seconds on exactly where your class is at. You can see exactly the skills that they need practice with. You can see exactly what students accelerated forward. You can identify the one area that class needs practice with, and you can use that to focus your time the next day in class on. And that is changing how schools are able to manage the limited time that teachers have. It's able to free up a lot of time that teachers spent marking, and it's able to better inform the teacher about who needs help, where they need help, and which students need additional practice, and then give them the additional practice. And then you can see that they've then done it and that they're now on track. That's what we're excited about, and it's working really, really well. I will make a note that if you looked at Education Perfect 12 months ago, you'd see that it's come a long way. It's come a really, really long way, and Shane at the back of the room has barely slept in the last 6 months, and I actually mean that, you know. I really mean that, and he's got a team of 4 developers and involving the likes of James and having a broader content team to ensure the content is well aligned to the New Zealand standard and it's all accurate, means the product is incomparable to where we were 12 months ago. But we had to go through that product innovation phase that we've been through, and I'm grateful for people that gave us feedback. If you looked at it 2 years ago, you would have said, your students can't show working, right? Your system isn't managing to accept solutions if students have worked it out in a funny way. There's not a lot of content here. There's not a lot of practice content here, right? There's no reporting for teachers. And so we've taken all of that feedback and we've gone through stage 1 of innovation, stage 21 of innovation, stage 100, and this is what we've come up with, and it's looking awesome. So Callum, if we go into comprehensive course coverage, you can see here expanding expressions, factorizing, rearranging formula, quadratic equations down to solving pairs of simultaneous equations. Let's do something simple like expanding expressions. I'm only smart enough to do the expand linear and non-linear, so we'll do that one. And after the session, you can all have a go at the more advanced content. It starts off on the left here with a smart lesson. It's a new build that it's an idea that Shane came up with last year, because before, we either had information slides or we had tests. But it's important to actually have a bit of information, students watch a video, be tested on that first step, and then a bit more information, make it progressively more difficult, and then segment the section so as a teacher you can see they got to this section, got stuck, got to this section, kept going. And you can identify as a class the exact spot, the exact sort of next step that people are not understanding, so you can actually say, all right, how can we communicate this better with the students? If we go into expanding linear equations, this is what you can see, this is what the students see, and there's a video that they can watch. So if they prefer reading text, they can read the text. If they like videos, they can watch the video. If they already know what to do, they just push got it and move straight into the test. It's brought up a random dynamic question here, so Callum, have a go and just show it in 2 steps. Yep, so 4 times 10.
4 times 10, 4 times 5x.
All right. Now, you note here that green tick. As of 2 weeks ago, our system, the students don't get feedback, you know. They don't have to wait 2 weeks to get the test marked by their teacher to know how they've gone. They don't have to wait until the end of a full equation. Students get feedback every step of the way in the learning material. And it's obvious that in the assessment, they don't get that step-by-step feedback. All right, I just want to make that clear. If they're using the learning revision material, every step of the way, it's going to give them a tick if we think they're on the right track. It'll have a question mark if it appears they've made a mistake. And then it's awesome, because instead of saying you got it wrong, here's the right answer, now the student thinks about it. They're like, oh, where did I go wrong? They review their work.
Say we do that.
Yeah, make a mistake, Callum, however much it hurts you.
Or say they add instead of multiply, so we'd say they go minus 9x. I'm sure you've had kids who do that.
All right, question mark. It doesn't say wrong, it doesn't say right, it doesn't pop up the answer. It says have a think about it. Doesn't look like you've got it right. And so the student can either review their answer and improve it, so you can improve it if you want to, or if they're stuck, they just push submit. And now they get the feedback on what they needed to do. So well done, the first step was right. They can compare their answer to the correct one, scroll down if they actually want a more detailed explanation. Expanding means to remove the brackets. To expand it, we need to multiply everything inside the brackets by the 4 outside the brackets. Okay? The explanations are dynamic, which means as the numbers are randomized, obviously the explanations update to factor in the new numbers that are put there. If you push continue, because we got it wrong, we're going to get more practice. As the rule of thumb, for each of these concepts, we want students to get them right 3 times in a row. And then it will move on. If they get it right twice in a row, make a mistake, then they're going to need to do it 3 times in a row. Struggling will get as much practice as they need. And it's really interesting when we look at the live data that teachers have. There's literally some students that finish a full homework task in about 6 minutes. And other students that get 80% of the way and they've been there for 45 minutes. And that's because they made a couple of mistakes and they got a lot more practice and they needed the practice. Okay? So if we move to expand linear 2, you can see that a negative sign has now been introduced. If we move on to nonlinear 1, and x is introduced, nonlinear 2, now it's a negative x before the brackets. And then practice makes perfect. You're thinking, but I want them to get a random version of any of those. Fantastic, practice makes perfect. Now they can do this as much as they want and get any of those scenarios coming up, randomized, until they've got this practice makes perfect right 3 times in a row. Okay, so that formula, that process of learning, where the students need to think through their answers. If it's the right step, they get a tick. If they make a mistake, a question mark, have a think about it. If they give up, then pop up the explanation, and if they didn't get it right, getting a lot more practice, and if they did get it right, then they move on very quickly. It's important that students that are comfortable with material aren't held back, right? That's been very, very popular and been very successful in differentiating, like completely differentiating the experience for every student in a classroom. And as a teacher, you can assign homework based on the data that you can see on the live dashboard. So Callum, let's go to the dashboard.
Well, I'll just point out, so within one of
thanks.
these sections, there's actually a whole lot of practice.
Yeah.
Like there's this question, they can submit it, and that will just go continue, and then get another question.
Yeah.
So within these, there's almost essentially unlimited practice on expanding nonlinear expressions. So a student can just sit here and keep doing those questions until they can move on.
Fantastic.
So I think we should do the exam questions.
Okay, let's do the exam questions first.
So that was the course coverage. And so then what we've got is the exam questions by topic.
Yep.
So this is where we've got our 4 sort of practice assessments updated to that new 2015 standard and split them up by topic. So I'll show you how these questions work. So if we click Start Lesson. So you can see it's pretty similar. So similar sort of setup. So we'll give it a go. So 9 diagonals. So we'll go 9 equals n over 2 brackets n minus 3. Like that. And can you see the tick there again? So it's marked that step correct. And now with the exam questions, what they always have to do is check their answer. So we'll click Check Answer. And you can see here, so we're matching up that first line of working. All right, we can scroll down and we can see all of the steps they need to get the answer correct. And in this case, get excellence. And then what we also do is give them a marking schedule on what they need to do to get achieve merit and excellence.
With those numbers.
With those numbers that we just saw. So this, and that means they can go up here and be like, oh look, I only got, this far, I got an achieved, this far I got a merit, maybe I completed, I got an excellence. And so it's up to them, these are completely self-assessed. And then further, we actually give a full elaboration and a step-by-step with words on how to get the final answer right. And then if they got it wrong, they can go needs work, click reset, and you see the number of diagonals change there. So all of these exam questions are dynamic in the same sense as we saw with the other questions.
So they can get as much practice as they need.
As they need, yeah. And so then we've got the 4 full practice assessments. So I'll show you how these ones work first, question by question. So these are 4 unique practice assessments updated to the 2015 MCAT assessment format. So let's have a look. So we'll go Start Lesson. And you can see, so there's only about 14 questions, which differs to the 23 you've seen in previous years. They can do each of the questions, get that feedback, same sort of feedback, You can see that.
So in those practice tests, Callum, just can you clarify for me?
Yeah.
The students get feedback as they're going.
Yeah,
question
as
by
they go.
question.
So the idea, this is for revision purposes,
Yep.
these assessments. So they get feedback question by question. And we've actually done in-class testing and found students react a lot better to this kind of testing. Like I know personally, getting, knowing I got it right is much more satisfying than doing the whole thing. And so they can do the thing.
But what if I want to do a whole practice one without getting the feedback?
Yep, so if you want to do a whole practice one. So I'll just point out quickly how these sort of differ with that assessment format.
Yeah.
So you can see here, there's no sort of expand, factorize, directed questions, if you like. And so we've got rid of all of those. And then what we've also done, if you have a look at question 3b, so what we do, it's a linked question, if you like, because they seem to like doing that in the new format. So that's the first version of it. That's sort of a continuation of it, using different algebra concepts, a continuation of it. And that format carries over for all of our practice assessments. So all 4 of those. So we'll click Save and Exit. And so what if you want to do the whole
without getting feedback?
Without getting feedback.
Yep.
So that's where the exam generator comes in. And so Craig mentioned this. So if we do that one, click Load Test.
So this is basically exactly how it would look for the EMCAT.
Yeah, and this is what we saw for the EMCAT before. And how this works, it draws an appropriate number of questions from those 4 practice assessments that we saw,
And
randomizes the numbers, and generates a unique exam based on that new assessment format. So within this exam generator, they can just keep doing this an unlimited amount of times, and they'll keep getting new exams, essentially. As you can see here, so we'll go 26. And so interesting to point out, so this is not marking it step by step. This is like the assessment, if you like.
This is a good simulation of what they'll see in the EMCAT.
Yeah, and so we can go next. Clicks, and you can see the next button with the timer at the top.
So it's even hidden the submit assessment thing, exactly how it would be in the EMCAT.
Exactly how it is.
Until they've looked at 7 or 8 questions.
And then we click submit, like that, and that's that.
And then the student can go to the online marking portal and view the results there.
Cool. And so Craig's mentioned this before, so the final thing we're working on is an end of topic test for algebra. So James, are you there at the back? So do you want to have a chat about what we're doing for the end of topic tests for the MCAT?
Okay, so the EMCAT end of topic test, so basically what we've done is we've just created a secure, high quality 15 question end of topic test. So it's broken into questions 1, 2 and 3. It's got essentially, for question 1 and 2 and 3, it's got within that 5 parts, so an A, B, C, D, E. An achieved one, a couple of merits, a couple of excellent, and we've done our best to match exactly what the specifications are. So we've included the US grading, as well as the U grading. We've included the new regulations around guess and check, and yeah, it should now be, I think, the highest quality test on around and available to the students.
Yeah.
Right now.
And we mentioned, so we've got St Andrews College in Christchurch actually using that for their end of topic test. Starting tomorrow. And so that's ready for
all the Year 11 students.
with all the Year 11 students. Because they were like, oh, the EMCAT is happening. Why would we not want to practice our end of topic test on the system? So that's available now for your students to use.
Fantastic. Well, we'll keep going. And so just to finish up, we'll have a look at the teacher's live report so you can see the type of information accessible to you when your students are using the system. And after that, literally just 5 minutes, and then after that, you're all going to be able to log in and try it. And our team will come around and help you log in if you haven't already. Sound good? So Callum, we're currently here in the teacher's dashboard and the teacher's control panel. We've assigned Pythagoras, that's some Year 10 content.
Yep, Year 10 content.
So we've assigned Pythagoras for our Year 10 students, and we can see that they've started it. If we click on the Summary tab, at the top of the screen here, we've obviously got a basic pie chart, pretty easy to understand that you put your cursor over it. We can see that 2 students have completed the homework. Keep moving. 1 of them hasn't started it, and I think 4 of them have started it but haven't finished. Nice and easy. Below this, we provide teachers with 3 pieces of information that they can do something with right now, because there's a lot of data there, but we every 5 seconds update the screen with some insights that you can actually, if you're in the classroom right then, you can actually use that information to talk to students and to help people. So, so it says here, your students are working your way through it, most of them are doing well. Nura and Adriana need some help with the material. I've seen the system say half the students have just finished this section and the other half students have got stuck here, right? These 4 students are stuck on the first section of Pythagoras, and that gives you information you can use right then and there. If you want to go further into it, we can scroll down, and we get the list of all the students on the left here. Just further down, Callum. We've got the students' names. We've got their overall progress with the homework task and the amount of time they've spent on it. We can see that Jane Wu finished this 100% success in 4 minutes. And we've got Nura, who's 81% complete, but she has spent 40 minutes doing her homework, which is really worthwhile to know. We can see each of the sections. Do you remember within a SMART lesson there were the different sections on the left? So there was expanding 1.
Yeah, I got one here, Craig.
Yeah, so we've got expanding 1, expanding 2, expanding nonlinear 1, expanding nonlinear 2. Those are each of the sections that you have reporting for.
So those match up with what you're seeing here.
And the blue means the students have finished the topic. And if you scroll across on Neuro, you can see it's got a nice red alert symbol for any sections where the students got stuck. Okay, and if we want to get a bit more information, we can put our cursor over it and see that she attempted that. She made 2 attempts and they were both incorrect. And if we're wondering, okay, where did she go wrong? This is like the sort of holy grail, as teacher said. If I could see what the students did, what their answer was, and the exact step they made the mistake, then this would be amazing. And so Shane, once again, didn't sleep for a couple of nights. And now if you click on the student's name, you get the full report for this student. So if we scroll down, Callum, check this out. We can see exactly what their learning experience was. So they spent a minute on the information slide, 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the definition of Pythagoras. They spent 5 minutes on the section where they got stuck here and applying the Pythagoras theorem. And this question here, calculate the length of the hypotenuse, they attempted with 0% accuracy. You click on view mistakes and we can actually see the students working. It's amazing, isn't it? I think we're going to give Shane a round of applause. Well done, mate. It's phenomenal. Okay, so Callum, explain where they went wrong here.
Yeah, so you can see here. So this is the working Neuro actually entered. So she went c squared equals 12 squared plus 5.
So she forgot to square the 5.
So she didn't square. Thanks, Craig.
Square root.
So she didn't square the 5 because obviously Pythagoras' theorem, and then she continued from there and she did the square root of 149. And then what you can see here is we can see the feedback that she got on the system. So you can see line by line it says, it wasn't sure what she did there. And then finally we can see obviously she got the answer wrong there. So this is the exact feedback that Nura got while she was doing the homework task. So you can use that, to guide the teaching and learning.
That's amazing. So you can see how long the students have spent doing the task in total, but you can also see how long they spent on a specific section, and there has to be active usage. If they walk away from the computer, it doesn't just log up the time. It's sort of, Shane, how long is it before it stops, before it detects the user's been absent? If they go out of a question, basically. Yeah. All right. And
Get the information as a class.
yep. Oh, so this is the final piece here, as well as we obviously saw that report for one student, but as a teacher, it's very interesting to know overall, as my class, what were the questions and the sections that people struggled with. And so this is the full class report. We can go into any of the sections. Just click on, for example, applying a rearranged Pythagoras theorem, and we can see the total attempts that my class has made on each of the questions and the total incorrect attempts, and you can go in and actually see all the mistakes for one question across your whole class to identify common threads of misconceptions or people just that have fallen behind. Okay, and all of that reporting required no work at all from the teacher. That's the key thing here. So your students logged in, all right, They started using the system. The students got line by line feedback as they were going to actually think about it. If they made a mistake, they get an instant explanation. If they made a lot of mistakes, they get a lot more practice. And as a teacher, you sit here with the live dashboard and you can see, all right, half the students got stuck here. Guys, can I just pause the lesson? Let's talk about this. And then you guys keep going. But Johnny, you've already finished. I'm going to assign you a bit more work for the next topic. Okay? It's an amazing experience, and I've seen teachers use that reporting incredibly effectively. Okay? So that's the quick end, that's the quick summary. The final thing is when students finish the lesson, it pops up and says rate how we found it and also rate your confidence in this material. So here we can see the students gave the lesson a 4.5 rating out of 5. And for us, when we've literally got tens of thousands of lessons across many subjects, there are some lessons that come back that the students give like a 1 star. And we use that information to go in, figure out what's going wrong, potentially bring on a different person to build that content and redo it, and then retest it. Okay, so from our perspective, that's really useful. From the teacher, you're looking at the student confidence section. Students may have finished it, but do they feel confident in that content? Okay, and that's all live, it's all automated, and it lets you really tailor what you're doing with the students. So to finish up now, you're going to all be able to log in. If you go to educationperfect.com if you haven't already, if you've got an iPad, you can download the app, Education Perfect. Your username should be your email address, and your password, unless you've already changed it, will be your first name. This is your opportunity to log in, use the algebra content, and our team will come around and answer your questions. So once again, thank you very much for coming today. It's been a real pleasure. I hope many of you will be involved in the EMCAT, and we look forward to hearing all of your feedback. So thank you very much.